Alright, my name is Aiden Paterson. I go by Amor Patet, and I'm on NICKSCAST. I have one, but I want to get into tattoos. Because I have one that's barbed wire wrapped around my thigh. And I got it with a friend of mine. His name's Brandon. He's been in 2 songs of mine. The 2 best songs of mine, actually, the most listened to. Anyway, he's gotten tattoos. I've always wanted them, but either didn't want to get them yet or want to spend the money or didn't know what I was going to get. But we found a tattoo shop near where I live, and it's called 12 Tattoos in Groton. I don't know if you know the show Ink Master, but the season 2 winner, it's his shop. And I was like, hey, if I'm going to get one, I'm going to have someone or a good shop do it. So we went just to check it out. It was like a Thursday or something during the summer, 2021. And we talked to the guy, and I decided, okay, the barbed wire around my thigh would probably be the first one I got. Because, in every sport and everything, I'm a righty, but my left leg is my strongest leg. And I love the Western theme because I'm from the South. Yada yada yada. And obviously I asked about price because I've never done it before. I asked about all these kinds of things. I just wanted to see. I had no intention of getting the tattoo. And the lady at the desk was like, I'll have one of our artists come talk to you. He came, and he was like, all right, let's get that done for you. And I was like, hold on. What? He was like, yeah, let's get it done. I'll draw it up. I was like, fuck it. Okay, let's do it. And he went in the back. He drew it up. He came by, and I was like, how long is this going to take? Well, he said, well, between 2.5 and 3 hours. And I was like, okay, let's do it. Now, I do not have a high pain tolerance. And I was a little nervous, and my friend Brandon, who's had some, was like, imagine the worst pain you can imagine. And then once you do that, it'll be a lot worse. A lot better, excuse me. And I did that, and it was 100 times worse than I thought it would be. During the whole thing, I was like, oh, I'm never doing this again. I'm never getting another one. I'm never this, that. And the artist, who's been tattooing for 27 years, said, just wait, you'll want 18 more once this is done. And I was like, I don't believe you, but okay, as I'm about to pass out. We get it done. I'm happy with it. I pay for it, go home. And since then, I want so many more. I'm ready for that pain again. I'm ready to do it again. And I have a list. And since I'm from the South, like my grandfather's house, there's all kinds of like cow skulls on the wall. And like as decoration, as there's all everywhere in the South. I want one right here on my chest with the horns coming up this way. It would be the coolest to me. I'd be incredibly proud of it. Nobody would see it because I wear shirts like a normal person, but that's probably the big one. But of course I have a list. Everybody who gets one and says they're done is wrong. So it comes to a discussion of like, why do people get tattoos? And I had this discussion with my parents. I was raised to be a creative person, to express my creativity, to, use what I have to make something beautiful. And I think the tattoos are an expression of myself and my creativity. And that's why I get them. I don't get them for really any other reason other than it means something to me, and it's a further expression of who I am. They will be on me in some way until I move on. And that's always been really cool to me, And I think, honestly, they're cool as shit, so I'm going to get some more. Only thing my mom doesn't like, she's like, buy food instead of tattoos right now, please. I was like, okay, that makes sense. I'm not a millionaire. I'm not even close, but yeah, it's just the money thing that's stopping me right now. So it's time to make some good music, make a lot of money, and get some tattoos, to be honest. So my dad's always been into music. You know, we'd always have tons of CDs. You know, the old binders, big binders, just hundreds and hundreds of CDs. A lot of classic rock and country. My parents were born and raised in New Mexico. I was born across the border in Texas, but we lived in New Mexico until I was like 6 months old. And then we moved to Connecticut for Dad's job. He works at the UCONN branch now. Mm. And, but, you know, the music carries over. So I grew up on country and classic rock and like 80s hair bands and all kinds of stuff like that, like Paul Simon, James Taylor, legends in their fields, in their industry now, which is definitely carried into my love of music. You know, I listened to Rush as a kid, and Neil Peart, one of the greatest drummers of all time. I really got into percussion and drumming, and that was the first instrument I learned. And now as I make music, I credit my sense of rhythm, my sense of, you know, just keeping things in time, to listening to that as a kid, you know, because they're legends in that aspect, you know, raw drum material. Like Bon Jovi, that was my first concert, was a Bon Jovi concert. And people like that, the Stones, you know, the Beatles, of course, Elvis, Michael Jackson, the Jackson 5 even. I was introduced to a lot of those artists, groups early on. And that definitely carried on, even playing like Guitar Hero young. You know, I remember playing the Steve Miller Band 100 million times over and over again, trying to get it right, you know, and that just instilled this love of classic stuff. I went through a phase where I listened to exclusively like 50s through the 70s, you know. Along with growing up with that kind of music, I grew up with Broadway. Since my dad is an activities coordinator at Avery Point. And since I was 3 feet tall, he would bring students into the city to see Broadway shows, and of course, me and my mother would go along. And I grew up on all these shows and the music that was played in them. There's one show called Jersey Boys I've seen maybe 3 times now. That's based on the music of Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. Huge fan. I know every song, word by word. And that's that kind of music I grew up on, just that ballad, you know, style of music. And it got me into a lot. You know, I have respect for all kinds of music, you know. There's some that I'd rather listen to more than others. Like, as you know, a lot of people around here don't listen to country, but of course I still listen. You know, I went to a George Strait concert, Blake Shelton, with some friends of mine, you know. Like, I enjoy music, and I think I enjoy music as a whole more than specifics because of how I grew up. Just all different kinds. And that was mostly because of my father. And just that catalog, you know what I mean? All kinds of stuff like that. If I had to come up with a favorite from when I was growing up, it would be Bon Jovi. Just because you know, when you're young, I was in elementary school, you discover something and you're being a fan of something like that, you know, gives you a sense of identity, yada, yada, yada. Even growing up in elementary school, in like the choir and singing songs from, you know, Queen, Prince, you know, it's just Michael. And it was fun, you know, and I'll never forget things like that. which has allowed me to open up to other forms of music now. That's an interesting question, because a lot of people, when asked about their biggest inspiration, usually, state the greats or someone like that. My biggest inspiration is friends I've met through the industry, I'll say, like locally. Kids like Rob, or Trey Breezy, a good friend of mine named Kyle. I met those two at the same time. They were in my same dorm. And if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be putting music out. Mm-hmm. That's the bottom line. I've made music since I was young, but never really thought about putting anything out until I met those two. And I've looked up to them for advice, for support, and for anything like that. And I really don't think I would be out there as an artist if it wasn't for those two guys. Of course, I look to people like, say, Tyler, or, Kendrick, the unorthodox ways of rapping or creating music. But I find a lot more inspiration through those who I am closer to level-wise, if that makes sense. Obviously, they're not making millions on music they produce or make and stuff like that, but they're doing it too, so I'm inspired by their motivation. And like Nick, as you know, Nick Rose, crazy mind, crazy motivation, and I think the motivation he has now is more impressive than big artists who are motivated as well, because he doesn't have a reason yet. He shows a lot of promise. He has every intention and every pathway to make it, but he hasn't yet, and he's still motivated. You know what I mean? Labels aren't knocking on his door saying sign with us, and big artists aren't saying do songs with us, but he still keeps going. You know what I mean? So that inspires me a lot more. So definitely people I'm around inspire me. My name, the stage name, I assume?
Yeah.
Okay. Amor Petit. I produced a couple songs and made a couple songs. The first two songs I ever came out with was 16 and Garden. And I was sitting on both of them. Garden wasn't finished yet, actually. 16 was. I was like, I want to put music out. Me and my buddy Brandon, the one I talked about before, were sitting in my basement at the time. And we're like, okay, obviously if I have music, I need to put it under a name. So we were thinking, what sounds good, what does this. I've been trying to come up with something forever, Never could. And then I'm like, I started looking up, Latin. I looked up French. I looked up Spanish. All these words. And Amor Petit came into my mind. I can't tell you exactly how, but it was a combination of words. Amor is love, obviously, and Petit is Latin for it means a few things. The one I use together, Amor Petit, combination of French and Latin, is love carelessly, which I thought was really cool. Number one, because my full name is Aiden Morgan Paterson. Amor, Aiden Morgan, and then Petit, Paterson, P-A-T-E. It worked perfectly. I was like, this is great. I've thought about changing it sometimes to something more simple, something more recognizable, but as of right now, I'm keeping it. Amor Petit. People ask how to pronounce it and stuff like that. I'm like, whatever's comfortable for you, say it, just say it. But yeah, that's that, and I came up with it, and we were like, that's pretty cool. Let's run with it. And I've used it for a couple years now. I I know some people, like my friend Gustavo, uses his name as like a project, as like an alias. I've thought about that, like alias and stuff. I know Mac did that for several projects. But for now, that's gonna be it. Yeah, Amor Patet, Love Carelessly. Ooh, I like that one because I remember seeing something about the national parks the other day that I went, that's really interesting because everybody has some interest in the national parks, whether they're beautiful or they've seen pictures on social media. Yeah. I've seen something about cave systems and how people have gone missing in certain areas of these huge, because you know how big national parks are, and how people have gone missing in these national parks, whether it be hiking or climbing or just whatever, camping, and it kind of matches up with these cave systems. So there's been a lot of, there could be a correlation here. Is there some government monster protected, because, is there a reason these are national parks? Is there a reason that you can't build on these, or that they're not developed? Is it because of these cave systems, and is that why people have gone missing? It could be that it's dangerous areas and people have died because, but there is the other side, like, what could this be? Everybody brings up, the Area 51, which could be something. We'll never know, probably, unless it gets, things are leaked. But that's what I'm really interested in, is the national parks. I know friends of mine who are going to Acadia pretty soon. I'm like, hey, go check that out for me. They're gonna be fine, but yeah, it is a little scary. I'm curious, because people go missing in the same place. I saw this map with like little dots all around it. It's like, well, how did people go missing if you know where they went missing? And I don't know. So of all of them, that would be the one I'd be most interested in. That was pretty cool. Worst job. That's a funny one because I talk about it a lot. I worked at Stop and Shop. I had 2 jobs at Stop and Shop. One I actually enjoyed. This was in the same summer. There was one position I had at Stop and Shop. I did it for 2 weeks. I said hell no, and I got another job. So before that, I worked at Stop and Shop as I cut fruit. Like I cut fruit in the summer. My friend worked there. He pushed carts in the heat, and I was chilling in the back with a jacket on. It was nice. I loved that part. Like I cut fruit, packaged fruit. The joke was I was a melon man. But before I switched into that, I was the night shift. So I would work 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. every day. Because there was only like 3 other people. It would be silent the entire time. It was... maybe it was 11 p.m. to 8 a.m. or something awful like that. I would take big crates out. We would unbox things and we'd stock shelves for the whole entirety of Stop and Shop. That's a whole nother level of like solitude. Like, when you're doing a job, you're being social with people. Say you're working retail. You get to talk to people. It's just silence. With, interesting people. I'll say that. But, it was awful. I listened to countless albums. I listened to just all kinds of stuff. Stocking shelves. We'd stock shelves for like 4 hours. So that's how long it would take. Sometimes it would take longer. We'd have to break down boxes. Just all kind of stuff like that. And then after that, we'd have to break down the store. We would go row by row. There's 25 of them, and just make them look pretty. Bring things to the front. Make sure things are nice and even, and that took like 5 hours of just that. And I haven't had too many jobs. I work at a restaurant now. I used to work at an aquarium, believe it or not. But that takes it. That's like, I have a whole new appreciation for people who stock shelves for like 9 hours at night, it was 12 an hour. Ooh. It was like minimum at that time, I think, was 11. And they were like, oh, you get an extra $1 an hour. And I was like, okay. But I was like, I need to do something different. So I worked like 5 hours in the morning from like 7 to 12, and that was awesome. I got up early, I got my stuff done, and I had the rest of my day, which is awesome. Funny people too, so it wasn't absolute hell. But that takes it. That was my worst job, easily. I know people who have made that kind of money. I know how they've spent it. The kid in me, the immature, as soon as you make money, spend it, kid in me would want to get a new outfit, get some shoes. Everybody wants what they've never had. And a lot of people work hard for that reason. I think the biggest way to know you've made it is when you have financial security. And that's not buying shoes. Of course, I love and respect and would die to have a full wardrobe of clothes I could never have before, and shoes in this. But if I made $1 million in a span of a month, there would be a lot of rethinking. A lot of, I have this now, let me consult somebody who knows a lot more than me as to what to do with it. Because people who make millions know how quick millions could disappear. You could buy a car and half of it's gone. You could buy a Lamborghini and half of it's gone. If not more, because there's tax and all that stuff on top of it. And maintenance and yada yada yada. And then it's just gone. And now you have to make the next million. So I would, if I made $1 million next month, what I would do, I would contact an advisor. I would put it into correct accounts. Maybe invest. My family invests here and there through an advisor. I do that because I think the smartest way to make more millions is use your first $1 million and put back into yourself. Like deal with it correctly. You can't upgrade unless you upgrade. And it's like you could have a camera, a disposable camera. You could take 3 shots, beautiful pictures, send them. They give you, say $500 each. Go buy a camera and take more. Don't spend it elsewhere and then take more pictures with the same camera. You know what I mean? So if anything needed to be upgraded, I'm very fortunate to have the equipment I have. But definitely, like, in ad management, in production, in mixing and mastering, put the money there so that you can make more money in the future. People who are smart with their money take the money that they've made and use it to ensure that they can make more money. A lot of people go, whether it be athletes, pro athletes, or musicians, they spend their money immediately to show off that they have money. You know what I mean? Which happens, it's happening more and more as artists are growing in this modern era of music. And, look at Jay-Z. Yeah, he shows his wealth. Yeah, he does that. But, actually, scrap Jay-Z. Look at Rick Ross. I just saw for his 16th birthday, he's gifted his son, I forget what restaurant it is, but a chain restaurant. That's like, I think it's a Wingstop restaurant, actually. And he gifted that to his son. He didn't give him a car. You could very easily give, as Rick Ross, you could give your son a really nice car for your 16th birthday. But with that Wingstop chain, who he can hire people and make even more money off of just sitting there not doing anything with it, by hiring a staff, you could buy 30 cars, you know what I mean? So, and Rick Ross, crazy businessman. He's used his money. He has stock in like 100 companies. Using it in a smart way, I think, is incredibly important. 5 years. Number one, hopefully I'm advancing as quickly as I have been in the past. I'd say past year in my music career, I've done a lot of things I never thought I would do. I had a performance on a major stage, big stage. I've put out an album, an EP, a lot of singles. None of them have got traction, but that's fine with me. It's a lot of experimenting and a lot of questioning as to who I am as an artist. I've met a lot of cool people. I've made a lot of connections and a lot of friends, and I've been put in positions I never thought I'd be in. With that said, I hope that continues to an even larger level. All I'm looking to do is scale and grow and do what I need to do to be successful. At the same time, to me, it's not all about money, which, money runs the world, but it's about, getting in with people that mean something to you, you know what I mean? And, which has happened. I'd rather be a millionaire with incredible friends than a billionaire sitting alone. You know what I mean? So, in 5 years, I'll be out of school. In my mid-20s. Hopefully, am in a position to still do whatever I want to do, what I love, The goal in my life is to be financially stable while doing something I love. I'd like to travel. I'd like to make money. I'd like to be with the people I love. Settle down. My drive isn't money. My drive is, to be stable and happy in that position. I hope to have more music out. I hope to have music out with more people, larger scale. I'd like to shoot for, people I've listened to growing up, like I reached out to, just a shot in the dark, I reached out to Felly, who is a CT guy and who's been wildly successful, lives in Cali now. And he actually got back to me, which was really cool. Ended up not doing the song together, but, he's like, sorry, man, I'm not doing features now, but I love the track. And I was like, hell, that's like, I'll take that, you know what I mean? Someone you've been listening to for years now says, respect, and I'm like, I'm cool with that. There's a lot of people I'd love to work with, and you gotta take things step by step. I could say, oh, I'd like a song with Cole or Kendrick, and it's like, okay, all right. But, like local artists, a lot of local artists have done their thing, they have blown up or within means, they are doing what they want to do, and that's what I hope to do too with those kinds of people surrounding me. People always say to be successful, you need to surround yourself with people who are 10 times smarter than you. You know what I mean? And that's really what I'm trying to do, and that's what I've done so far. I think the best way to grow is to take knowledge from others and build upon your own. So in 5 years, I'd like to be stable, I'd like to be happy, and I'd like to continue Doing what I love. That is most important to me. With the people I love, of course. I'm 20 years old. I am a junior in college. I'm in a communications major. I'm a beginning artist. And I don't have much traction in the industry. Those are my credentials so far. I could go very easily down the route of, don't stop doing what you love. Everybody says that, Tyler said on his album, do that, that's your luxury. That whole on Massa, but which is true. But what I've always held on to is to keep an open mind. As a person, I've always been dead set on something that if something's a little off, then it's wrong. Whether it be mixing a track, whether it be a life path, or a solution to a problem. That's I've been very close-minded. And I'm making the shift. And I believe everybody should do the same. Because in order to get to a certain goal, there are hundreds upon thousands of ways to do one thing. You know what I mean? And I've been realizing that because I'm an overwhelming perfectionist. If I will not release something, I won't do something until in my mind it's perfect. So when mixing my latest single that's not out yet, the one for the video, I've realized that though it might not be exactly how I want it to be, it doesn't mean it sounds bad or it's wrong. You know what I mean? It might be a little off from the first version of what I thought it should be, but it's still good. And I realized while doing that, while slaving away on this song for a good 5 months now, I'm like, this applies to everything. When you're growing as an artist or growing as a person, there isn't one correct way to get there. You know what I mean? There are many different ways that are still good. You might not end up doing exactly what you thought you would only love doing. But you're still in an amazing place. It's about the people who are around you. Along with that, surround yourself. Be very conscious of the people you're around. Surround yourself with good people. And that's what I've been doing in college. In high school, you're dropped with a certain amount of people, through elementary, middle, and high school, which I love the people I was around in high school. But especially in CT in Connecticut, creative, outgoing, motivated, creative people are hard to find. That's no disrespect to anybody I've been around, but the vision I've had hasn't been matched. The only kid, there's only been a few, but one that stands out to me is my friend that I've recorded videos with, that I've done with, and he's going for his goal as this filmmaker, this writer, this producer. And he has found a way to get to his goal while I'm getting to mine, but merge those two. Find those people who integrate you into their path and do the same with them. It's like a help me help you situation. Those are the important kind of people. Not people who are like, I'll do this for you if you do this. Like you can go to somebody, I'll do it, but you'll have to pay me for it. I'm a little against that, especially at a young age. At a young age, as in like on the process, on the pathway to being successful. Because we're all working together here. If we work together, it's a hell of a lot easier to get to our separate goals. You know? If not, it's unnecessary roadblocks. You know? Most artists I know who are humble and I'll go back to Nick Rose. He did not have to give me a verse on a song. He is much more successful than I am. He is much more well known. He had no reason to give a smaller artist like me a verse. But I genuinely and humbly asked him. I was like, I have this track. I think you would fit. I respect the work you do. And he was more than open and excited to do it. I'm not going to name who. I went to another artist and said, this is a track. I said the exact same thing I said to Nick. And he was like, I'll see what I can do, but yada, yada, yada. Just negativity. I was like, so I immediately sent it to Nick. And Nick, like it was nothing. And I think artists like that are the ones that should and will make it. So, be humble. You know, if something doesn't work out, there's always another way. And surround yourself with the people who you mesh with, who you respect, who are smarter than you, and are motivated to get to their goals while working with you. That's important. You know, you don't want people around you to work for you. You know, I would much rather have somebody who has a strict goal in mind or a vision of what they want to do and find ways to integrate you into it. Because, like, with my friend that does the films, you know, he wants to be a filmmaker. I want to be a musician. I want to be a successful artist. Those two mesh. We're good friends. And by doing this together, it helps both of us. And finding that middle ground is always important. And those who are open to doing that will do it. And those are a special kind of people.
Mm-hmm.